Welcome to part 3 of the series where we see what object show hosts would be incriminated for if taken to a courtroom. And the subject of today's episode is MePhone 4. Sure, he's already been in a courtroom before, but it was for one specific crime, and it was basically a slap on the wrist compared to what he would have gotten if he had been tried for everything illegal he had ever done. I would like to take this time to ask you to subscribe with notifications on, so that you don't miss any future uploads from my channel, as it would be much appreciated as well. With that, let's dive in. This art style is a crime, mostly the mouths when they frown. Jokes aside, the actual first crime MePhone commits is health code violations by having giant piles of elephant feces out in the open that the contestants have to jump into. Under the Occupational Safety and Health Act, this warrants a fine of $7,000. Just like with 4 in the announcer, MePhone gets charged with a bunch of forced imprisonment charges. Over Season 1, there's 14 of them total. Episode 3 sees the introduction of the fist thingy, which isn't me not having a name for it, that's actually what it's called. The first time MePhone uses it is to launch Pencil from BFDI away, which is his first battery charge of the episode. It also gets used on contestants as they get eliminated, and sometimes even when they aren't. Its usage on contestants throughout Season 1 will be counted here, except for the one time where MePhone 4S uses it instead. The final crime for this episode, after Pencil was launched, she popped Balloon by accident. I think I'll count this as an involuntary manslaughter, because although he didn't know Balloon was there, MePhone 4 was not careful enough to check. This gets him 10 years. After that, we have to skip forward a few episodes for the next crime, all the way to episode 6. The obstacle course for this episode's challenge featured a spinning saw blade, which OJ ends up shattering himself on. I'll count this as involuntary manslaughter, since MePhone 4 didn't directly kill OJ, but he did build the course. In the 9th episode, when Lightbulb was eliminated, her platform was tilted down, dropping her onto Idiotic Island, where she then shattered and died. Also in episode 9, MePhone 4 throws an axe at OJ and kills him. For this, he gets a second-degree murder charge. Episode 12's challenge is a repeat of the first one, which means MePhone gets charged with the same crime as Episode 1, being punished accordingly. At the start of Season 2, MePhone 4 jumps out of a plane that contains the new contestants for the season. Unfortunately for him, with nobody behind the steering wheel of the plane, it then crashed into the hotel that OJ bought with his Season 1 winnings. If the amount of damage caused by the crash exceeds a worth of $50,000, which if OJ used all of the winnings it likely does, then MePhone can expect up to 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. OJ also dies from the shock of the plane crashing into the hotel, which is arguably caused by MePhone's negligence. This is a manslaughter charge, albeit an involuntary one. This episode has 2 challenges, the first of which is to stay on the Gladstonian Glacier. There are 2 charges I'm gonna give MePhone here. The first is when Test Tube falls into the water, she clearly does not have any kind of cover. We don't actually know what's inside of her, but it could be something toxic. If it is, then this is a violation of the Marine Research and Protection and Sanctuaries Act, which gets 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. The second is when Microphone falls into the water near the end of the challenge. If she isn't waterproof, which she probably isn't going by the sparks in the water, this qualifies as a negligence charge. Ah, MePhone, back at it again with the forced imprisonment charges I see. This season it gets stopped after episode 7, so there's only 5 counts this time, since I'm only counting Yin Yang and Cherries as 1 each. Speaking of episode 7, despite what Judge Gavel says in that episode, owning a portal technically isn't illegal since there are no laws about that. In Mazed and Confused, the maze that MePhone generated has traps such as a freeze ray, flamethrower, zap ray, and a cannon, causing great physical distress to the trio of baseball, nickel, and suitcase, counting as 6 counts of indirect assault and battery total. There are also 3 more attempts on Test Tube immediately after this. Then, Fan also gets hit by a cannonball, though we don't get to see it. You can see the spots where the cannonball went through his corner though. Finally, Test Tube has to dodge 4 more attempts. By the end of it, Test Tube has been charred to death, an indirect murder, though the egg came out of it unharmed miraculously enough. For our next crime, we have to move forward to Season 3. In order to get the returning characters that'll participate in that season, MePhone 4 created 8 counterfeit tickets for a Spoiled Lemon concert at a resort. Counterfeiting gets you a fine of $250,000 and a 20-year prison sentence. So far in this season, as of episode 12, the fist thingy has been used 11 times this season, as the floor was hit twice in his elimination, which is 11 more counts of battery to add to the list. On the other hand, unlike in the last 2 seasons, Indefinite Island doesn't count as forced imprisonment since the eliminated contestants can leave if they choose to do so there's no charge here. In episode 4, as you can see, there were no safety precautions taken for when they were near the volcano. What if someone had fallen in? In fact, Silver Spoon and Candle nearly did towards the end of the episode. They would have died if not for Silver snuffing out her flame, and there's no way MePhone knew about her abilities. I'll count this as an OSHA violation. In episode 8, there's a pretty embarrassing one. If a butterfly landing on the new Pinkers, half of the bridge, is all it takes for the thing to tip over and kill all the contestants, then MePhone did not build it sturdy enough. That's 9 counts of involuntary homicide, since I'm counting Yin Yang as 1 for this. There weren't any crimes that I could find in episodes 9 through 12, besides the fist thingy usage, so that was the final crime. Let's review the final list. When I was writing this script, it felt like there was less that he did than the announcer or 4, but that might just be partially because it was more spread out this time. Anyways, all of this together would result in MePhone 4's sentence being 1 life sentence, 247 years in prison on top of that, and a fine of $651,000. A bit lighter than the other 2 due to the lack of death penalties, but still a hefty punishment, especially the fine. And for good reason. Environmental damage is no joke. That's all for this video. Hope to catch you all whenever I upload again. Thank you all for watching.